this is vocabulary number 9. So these words are from the story Teacher Tamer. So some of them might sound familiar because we hit a couple of them, but we didn't finish the story yet. So some of them will be new. But as we read on the Teacher Tamer story, you'll be able to comprehend the text better because you understand the meaning of the word, right? So the first word is thrive. So the sentence that was on that context clues worksheet said, when the restaurant first opened, it was thriving. It was not thriving. Few customers came and little money was made. However, after advertising all over town, business began to flourish. So what do you think thrive means? Sort of. So when you thrive, like here's another example. Once the girl began seeing a tutor in language arts, she began to, what happened? Oh, no, my thing is, I see. When you thrive, it means to grow and develop and be successful, right? So not only, you don't need to write the sentences because you have the sentences on the context clues sheet that you did when you first walked in, but I do want you to write down 1 or 2 examples. So, for example, plants thrive in a greenhouse. Why do plants thrive in a greenhouse? What's in a greenhouse that makes them thrive? Yes?
The light.
The light?
The glass that lets in the light.
You got it, Ansh? The heat, the light and the heat, right? Children thrive when they eat well and exercise. Mosquitoes thrive in areas with standing water because they're attracted to water. Did anybody read Hatchet last year? Yeah. So remember he kept getting bit by mosquitoes because he was by the lake. The sick dog began to thrive when placed in a new home, right? So can somebody give me an example? So the next word, suppress. So this happened in this story early on. It's when Gregory was getting reprimanded or getting in trouble for spitting a spitball at the teacher, the class attempted to suppress their laughter. The students knew if they laughed out loud, they would get reprimanded. And another sentence is, Jim had to suppress his laughter during his father's very serious speech because he knew his father would be irritated with him. So in your own words, if you replace suppress, what words would you fill it in with? Yeah, so when you suppress something, you are holding something back. You're preventing something from happening, right? So a couple examples. So along with writing down the definition, our expectation is you're writing down a couple, 1 or 2 examples. So a lot of times, when there's a speech, people get excited, they want to clap every time this person says something really good. But a lot of times what will happen is the person giving the speech will say, okay, let's suppress or hold our applause until the speech is over. Remember, during graduation, if they have every kid go up and then the family applause, the graduation is going to take forever. So what they do is they tell you suppress, your clap until everybody is done and graduated. This one I got a hard time doing. Suppressed my desire to eat chocolate, went on a diet. All right. Firefighters use powerful hoses to suppress the fires. So you need to write down the definition. Write down the definition. And 1 or 2 examples.
Did you write down the definition? Yeah. And 1 or 2 examples?
The next word is blatant. So I am sure that a lot of you have probably heard this before, right? So the sentence says the student was blatantly cheating. So it's a different form of the word. It's the adverb form of the word. When you write your sentences on the quiz, you can use any form. And also in your writing, you can use any form of the word whatsoever. So it says the student was blatantly cheating on the vocab test. When the teacher walked by, he did not even try to hide the fact that he had a tab on his Chromebook open to all the answers. So what do you think blatant means? I'll just give you the answer.
You don't suppress
You're done?
You don't suppress it. Can I put that?
Done openly? So you do something openly without trying to hide it. So for example, if you're on the soccer field and say there's a player and he gets really angry and he pushes another player, and he doesn't even try to hide the fact that he's pushing him and he gets fouled. So a player blatantly pushing another player. If you see students, a lot of times when they're substitutes in a classroom, the kids are blatantly disregard the rules, right? Or a student blatantly lied to the teacher about completing his homework. So what would be some other examples of blatantly or blatant and using other additional vocabulary? Okay. Culprit. Raise your hand if you have heard of this word before. Raise your hand if you know what the word means. All All right. So it says, eggs were thrown at the lady's house. Her husband ran out the door and called the culprits. Now, some words obviously have more than one meaning. For example, like the word orange. It's the piece of fruit or it's the color. So culprit has two meanings. So what do you think it possibly... All right. A culprit, hands down, is a person who has done something wrong or committed a crime. Or, this is a second possible definition. It could be something that causes harm or trouble. So people can be culprits, but non-animate objects can be culprits. So for example, if you look at one of the examples in here, so let's say there was like a sock on the steps, and you were walking down the steps and you stepped on the sock and the sock made you fall. So the sock was the culprit of your fall, right? So another example is like, let's say you're a smoker and you get cancer. So the smoking was the culprit of your cancer, right? So understand, it's not just people that can be culprits. Oh, you could say the rain was the culprit who ruined our picnic or hair, right? So it's something that causes harm or trouble.
So they need to have another example besides the definition,
yes,
correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Some of you are missing that piece.
The principal called the culprits who vandalized the bathroom. Culprits fled after hitting the car. All right, the next one, clamor. Clamor is another one that has two definitions. So on the quiz, if you only put one definition, you're only getting half. All right? So I was reading, I'm part of this Facebook page, this teacher Facebook page. I was telling Mrs. Minter this story today. And this woman, one of these teachers that's on this Facebook group, was complaining because her daughter's history teacher, I think it was her history teacher, he does vocabulary, but they need to know literally word to word the exact definition. So if the definition has the word the in it, and you take the quiz and the word the is not in there, you get it wrong. So all these teachers are like, that's not right, that's not right. But this one woman chimed in and she said, you know what? That's life. Like, your daughter needs to learn how to, sometimes there are rules and you need to follow the rules, right? So I gave her a thumbs up on Facebook because it's true. Like, do I think it's irrational? Yeah, it's a little crazy. However, sometimes rules are rules. So my little thing is, you pretty much basically have to know the exact definition. Does it have to be exact word for word? No. But if you miss out on part of the definition, then your definition is only partially correct. So the sentence was, the band played for only 10 minutes. The audience clamored for an encore. Their demands were answered, and the band went back on for 20 minutes. So what do you think clamored means? So the first meaning could be a loud and confusing noise, or it could mean to demand loudly. So for example, the public clamors for more police officers to keep the neighborhood safe. People clamor for justice all the time. Kids clamor for attention. Teenagers clamor for a later curfew. You could also say there was a huge clamor in the lunchroom, or there's a huge clamor across the street that kept me up all night long. Also, as you know, on the quiz, you are not permitted to put any of my examples as one of your examples. So anything that's on my presentation, you can't put. You have to come up with your own. That shows me whether or not you understand the meaning of the word. So, clamor. What do you got? Who have I not heard from? Same people. Come on, other people. Laborious. Oof. All right. The man attempted to fix the car himself. However, after working on it for 10 hours, he realized how laborious of a task it was. He decided to hire a professional mechanic. Raise your hand. What do you think laborious means? When something is laborious, it's something that requires a lot of hard work, time, and effort. So, when things are laborious, this is where your strong work ethic kicks in. So, for example, some things like, let's say if you're packing up your house, and then you got to move into your other house, your new house, and unpack, that's a laborious task. Writing an essay can be very laborious, especially when you have to do all this research. In order to be laborious, what other vocab word and raise your hand, do you definitely need? So if something requires a lot of hard work, time, and effort, don't call out. Ansh? Resilient, is that one of our words? And there's another one. Jess. No? Relentless. Right? And is persistent one of our words?
It should.
It's not.
It's not, but it should.
All right. So give me an example of one. All right. So when we talk about taunts, when the girl walked into the classroom, the kids began taunting her because of her clothes. All the taunting made her cry. So what do you think taunt? So it means to try to make other people angry and upset by insulting them or making fun of them. So, So a couple of examples. This happened. My son was saying how this happened at wrestling the other day. It was Frillboro High School versus Old Bridge, right? So this kid from the other team, he's walking by the borough stands, and all the kids in the stands were like, "Boo, boo, you stink," right? They were taunting him. So sometimes it's that taunting that gets you all fired up, right? So when this kid went out on the mat and wrestled, what do you think happened? He won. So you know what he did? He walked. My son said he literally walked right in front of the stands where all the seniors were there, Birmingham, sat there, took off his headgear and gave him a smirk for 30 seconds. And then he left. So the taunting is what fired the kid up. So when you taunt, for example, fans can taunt players from opposing teams, siblings taunt one another.
Examples, write it down.
Yeah.
Siblings,
And this should say demonstrators
write
taunt.
it down.
This should not, this is wrong. Shh, guys. This should say demonstrators taunt police. All right. Bullies taunt kids at school. All right. So this is a better word instead of tease. So can we,